You're correct about that statement. A quick bullet thunderbolt rundown of what the number 18 could mean. The number 18 means God has revealed himself. How he has done so by his own will. The 8 being the subtle code of how things get structured. The 1 pointing to something that is of oneness, wholeness, etc., etc. And then the 10, the 1 and the 0 being the bracket magnifying, you know, going through the different elements from 1 to 10, because 10 is ultimately a number of brackets that, encapsulate, a stack of elements in a higher pitch of the number 10. So, like, if you were to just briefly, intuitively, crystalline, like, hyper spiritually break down something of a text called Gita, which has 18 chapters, it could be looked at and embodied and lived and experienced and interacted with and captured and recultivated and lived in a whole different way, though, perhaps, because that's we're on a certain, we're on a certain flags point, or we're on a certain, like, staff wave of time. So the number 18 could be God itself. The number 17 is everything in between God and everything else, which, cusps to the 16. So the cusps are like one and the same, but they're also like a new bracket. And then the 16 being, material reality being realized on a subtle note, that God was always in control of the material reality. The climax of a material war, chapter 16. 18, God is revealing the timelessness of, like, chapter 18 to chapter 1. So within chapter 18, that's like, it's some type, it's a material conclusive point, but it's also like a spiritual conclusive point. But the conclusive point is that, like God is summed up and, like, is telling us the nature of illusion within things and the nature of reality within things, and how, like, we're torn between two worlds because we are partaking with that which is more dense and more narratized. And chapter 16 is, like, the height, and then, like, the material tone of it is like, this is the, like, this is the fight of the death. This is the war of the death. This is, like, how wars are, like, from a different aspect. It was already, when I say it was pre-crafted not necessarily in a malevolent or benevolent way. It was pre-crafted because that was just the standard experiment, and how we polarize from an energetic level. That's how, like, Creator ultimately led that to be, because it was just ultimately, on a neutral level, it was just, we all come from creativity and imagination. And where Venus is in your house, that's your physical creativity of, like how you, like, dress up yourself, how you style, how you take care of yourself, how you style up yourself, like Taurus, like all this, like, fashion and clothes and, like, designs and, like, these, like, stencils, and Libra seeing, like living some type of reality within, that, that kind of, because, like, when I look at Virgo and Libra, I look at it at, like, something beyond the solar system. When I look at the constellations, I try to look at them, like, above the solar system as well, and above the galaxy too. So, like, within that, like, Virgo and Libra, like, in the, like, slightly above the solar system and in the galaxy, that's like that's like real, that's like the lived experience of, like, just of bringing, like, things to fruition, kind of, things to, like, kind of, like, being simultaneously, like, being one with the story, kind of, because it's just like we're being initiated to, like, move a certain way, Libra, and then we're also adapting to that, initial move at like a different benchmark of like how like they want to reset time within their own increments and their own denominations of time within their relationship with harmonic time and material density time. The difference between harmonic time and material density time is one leans more towards a material surface level program, where one like sixth or seventh or eighth of the component is like something of like a liquid steel. Artificial intelligence is like more or less slightly synonymous with that, but I'm not to get lost in that. I would guess the harmonic time is like that which like pairs with the nutrition and the nutrients for our soul. Something like, what does our soul like to eat? What does our dream body like to eat? I mean, like healthy thoughts, right? Healthy emotions, healthy clarifications, healthy epiphanies, healthy like new actions, habits rewritten, some scars rewritten, some scars transformed, blasted away, because new celestial tones are here to just blast them away, because there's new ways of reacting, approaching, responding, rethinking, reaffiliating, reapproaching everything. But I would think harmonic time is like the beneficial opposite to respectively how this form of material time is being used, for better or for worse, because we're in like something of a program called the Gregorian calendar, and within that's ultimately in someone else's like Sims video game. But the thing is, we have to recognize the Sims video game that we're in for us to transform it collectively, because that's the essence of like transition, respectively, is like that transition needs certain requirements and qualifications, and it's asking for us like a baby needs the mother's milk, for the transition to a heavenly timeline, which is a probability, which I would say in this respective humble modest timeline, everybody has a 50-50 chance. So on a collective reset level, there's a 50-50 timeline, like where the majority of like the time the humanity can reach a heaven on earth, but that's just a probability though. So since that's just a probability, we can't just have like fanciful thinking as we're gloating and gleaming and like floating and fleeting throughout our days from whatever we're ultimately running from like a non-cognitive cognitive dissonance, And the non-cognitive dissonance is like feeling the accepting of the most clearest truths ever, And once you do that, that is like some type of like juxtaposition substance to like feel every part of your life though. But from what vantage point? Ultimately, we're like, how do we get beyond this dream world? How do we get beyond the matrices of the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension, respectively? Is by like kind of corresponding to whatever Tulia is and deep sleep is, the big one of four and the big two of four, and that trumps even like the alien dimensions too, because the alien dimensions is just a higher magnitude of Maya, respectively. And for me to break that down, that's like the ultimate shit right there. And if you can't peep that this ultimate shit, then you don't have the mature intelligence to just peep that game. And that's okay, That, I mean, time's kind of like waiting in one substrate of it, in one strata of it. Time kind of like it solidifies in certain densities and it slows down and within your individual relationship to the macro matrix and the different matrices within the dimensions. Then that is the key and the code combination for you to unlock yourself into like other galactical dimensions, like within graduality though. Pour a little bit out. Within graduality. But like obviously for some ground level, this still is like relevant and significant, because on a deeper neutral level that we forget, this is ultimately for our benefit, and how much we could leverage to that which controls, like, beyond the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension. And I say that respectfully because I'm just trying to see like how I recollect remnants from there, regardless of what anybody's like non-neutral, non-balanced opinion is, because that's what it is, because it's polarized with different categories and contexts and topics of itself, that something wouldn't even know it would be paralyzed unless it just doesn't, because it has a unique relationship with unconscious, and unconscious is just deep unknowing from your new regrowing to whatever light is being casted upon us, so like it's just a probability, because like some people might not see a particular quote unquote light of day, end quote, and the light doesn't have to be like, physical sunlight. It could be just like a different subtle light of someone else's aura's insight, and that aura's insight is the deepest original guru of gurus, which is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, respectively, in my neutral understanding as of now, which is like pretty much the teacher of all the books, like the Yukteswaras or Yukteswara, or his respect, and I'm seriously trying to say his name, Bhagwan Sri Ram. He's like neutrally, that was the author that they're pointing to, like even all the what's that other guy's name, he wrote the Synthesis of Yoga, and he has his own series, Aurobindo. Like, yeah, he, like, on a neutral level, on a deep, like, because like these gurus of like Yogananda, Aurobindo, Yukteswar, Shankaracharya, respectively, all within their own expressions and reflections and same emanations from that which the source is being revealed to them, respectively, and they're sharing their stories, and that's helping us. But the thing is, they're all agreeing that like there's a source to this neutral, like, dimension within the dimensions of everything else, within the everything dimension. They're saying there's a lineage to how that's preserved, and you don't have to necessarily just call it, V or Vish or Vishna or whatever, or Mahavish or M Vish or M Mo or Mangalam. Like, there's millions of names for Shri, Mahavish. Nah. And like, I respect all of Sri. Like, I've been like chanting my own unique chants too. I have my own like unique chants of like, but like I don't want to like let that, like, the titles or the identities get to my head. I want to see like where's the ultimate guru teacher that is teaching, and that Aurobindu's fucking giving hats off to, all of them respectively. Like, they all have their hymns and their appreciations. So, and then for them to carry it and point to themselves that they were lived beings. Like, Chaitanya was a real being. So like, and Chaitanya, if he's a real being and we have a dumb perspective of what time is and timelessness is, then Chaitanya is still alive, because that's what like, because time doesn't exist, respectively, in a different context. And we're trying to go back to a place where it's like these quote unquote pastimes, end quote, are happening. And you know what, like some of the, like, the literature of like, of the quote unquote Gitas, end quote, which everything is a Gita song, some of it needs to get edited. Like, it just kind of sounds off tone. Like, we should call like Bhagwan, like, we should call Bhagavan, like, the original spiritual mind, not the supreme personality of Godhead, because that doesn't necessarily make sense to the modern mind. It's just like to the Western mind, it doesn't compute, it doesn't align. It kind of like because like there's a little spell in the English language and sound emanations in every language, so it's like the intention in the words that you're saying could be felt. So it's like, we don't even necessarily know how the mantra is sourced. We don't necessarily know how the mantra is, like, kind of like a bank, the mantra bank, already being a spiritual thing, already being a spiritual financial thing before how we're realizing it, or it already being a thing. And that's bartered with our life and our time, and like what we're like trying to get out of and trapped to, but we're not necessarily trapped because we made this thing, as like, a bigger, earlier roundtable of consciousness. So yeah, that's that for now. And how we're kind of like, as we regrow our lives, we're kind of growing in more or less neutrally to like what the Gita could be saying, but all the chapters are already happening right now. Like, they're like the war, we're just like we're at different levels of realizing it, and some are more visceral for others because that's where they incarnated to, because they don't necessarily know what they did in the past life. So it's like Because like compare, like you could like get out of this human life altogether. You know, you don't have to subscribe to human. And once you like desubscribe to human, you could get out of the human mind games, human race games, transcend all this like Hindu shit, white people shit, black people shit, like orange people, purple people shit. Like that shit doesn't even like really matter in like the bigger picture. Because like it's ultimately, is your spirit going to be free and like sovereign to for it to ultimately like, you know, think and feel and do everything how it wants to. Thank you guys. And my memory, I only have like 10 seconds left, so Shri Haribol.